welcome to Millennials On The Move YouTube channel, show, and podcast. Woo! Super excited. We have these lovely women here today. Boss, Nerd, Slut. That is not their names, and it's not in order. But we'll get more into that before we get into it. Happy Friday. It's Friday everywhere. And it doesn't feel like it. We kind of just touched on that. Me and Danielle touched on not really feeling like weekend. So can you guys just go down the line? Tell me a little about yourself. We have Danielle, Lori, and Shari. Pick and choose whichever one wants to go first. Just tell me a little bit about yourselves.
Well, we're we're the Boss Nerd Slut Podcast, and our saying is be a boss, be a nerd, be a slut, or anything else for that matter. Just be yourself and do it on your own terms. Right. And we start off by saying, I'm Shari Monet. Oh my gosh, why aren't you guys just playing off what I'm saying?
In terms of who we are and like
about like individually. Just tell me a little bit about yourself, where you live.
Well, I was just trying to start it off but never mind.
Well, I'm Danielle. Nobody goes off of what I say ever.
Or do you want to continue with you?
No,
okay. Well, I'm Danielle. We met in college back in the day. I went to Florida State. They went to FAMU, but we met in Tallahassee. Okay. Just a little bit about me. I'm originally from Connecticut, but I moved to Florida when I was 14. So spent like half of my life in both places.
Right.
Of Jamaican descent. Let's see. I'm a journalist, so doing the podcast and things of that nature. I think for me it was kind of like an extension of stuff I already did as like a journalist, like with having to like be on camera and stuff like that. So it probably came initially the easiest to me with the podcast. But these ladies, they're doing it as if they have all the experience in the world. So so that's a little bit about me. Handle is Danielle BTV on all social media platforms. I like to call myself a social media correspondent because I love talking about all things pop culture. Yeah. So if you've seen me on any social platform, you'll probably see me talking about something that has to do with pop culture and giving my unasked for opinion. And
very well respected. Right, because I said what I said, and that's it.
I still said it.
Okay, cool. Lori?
Yeah. I'm Shari on social media, Shari Monet, and on our podcast as well. Also from Jamaican descent as well as Haitian descent. Yeah, born in Maryland, lived all over the world because my dad was in the Army. Settled in Florida, went to FAMU for college. That's where I met these ladies. She went to Florida State, but we went to FAMU. And yeah, I mean, I have a twin sister. I have
my best friend is her twin sister.
Oh, cool! Look at that.
Yeah,
we have your twin sister. She went to Florida State.
She went to Florida State, but her twin sister and I, we met in high school in South Florida.
Oh,
yeah. And what's weird is I've never met Danny.
Wow, that's nice.
We had a whole separate. Me and Brittany had a whole separate life.
I never met her until years later in college.
Right.
Yeah.
That was really weird. Like when you think about it, because
I was like, do you really have a twin? Never seen her.
I think you're lying.
And I spent together, like the fact that we didn't really hang out with each other's friends until college, that was kind of crazy. But lived all over the world. Oh, sorry.
Oh no, go ahead. You lived all over the world. What else?
Lived all over the world. I was a flight attendant. Well, now I'm currently an events manager and living here in Atlanta with these ladies.
As well as an author.
Oh
yes.
I started my own little sensual series that I put out on Instagram.
Turn up.
Yeah, my Shari abroad.
What?
What?
What was my class?
Where was your class?
Arch and Point. You said sensual series?
No, so stories. Well, yeah, series of stories.
And there's, so you didn't say sensual. You didn't say sensual?
I did.
Oh, it's very sensual, girl.
That's what I'm saying. You can go like, we'll talk. Go ahead.
Totally a collaboration.
Go ahead.
I'm here now. I didn't drink enough, so I'm like.
You've been sipping on something? Been sipping on something, Shari?
I just got a cup of wine, but I usually try to be a little tipsy before I'm on camera. I'm super awkward.
I get it. Sips cup. All right, Lori, go ahead.
Hi guys. Hi Micah. I'm Lori. I've lived literally everywhere. Single mom lifestyle. But yeah, so born in Jersey, I ended up in Florida where I stayed because tuition was cheaper. And so I went to Florida A&M University. Best decision of my whole entire life. And then I studied science. So like from there, upon graduation, I started teaching. But then somewhere along the lines, I started a business, Pretty Brown Box.
Yes.
And so I curate like custom gifts. And in that process, the marketing, the branding behind it, I learned how to do like audio, record myself, trying to promote myself. And so when the opportunity for us came along to like do this podcast, initially it's like, not really my thing. But having done it and forced myself to do it, it wasn't that difficult.
She's a natural.
We have a really good chemistry, and like the way we talk, it's just like it's organic and it's fun, and we wanted to kind of capitalize off of that and share with the world.
Right. So thank you for telling me about yourself, and I'd like everyone to get kind of like a little bits and pieces of who I'm interviewing, because everyone can connect in every single way, right? So it's like, you're from Jersey. You've been all over the world. Shari's been all over the world. I'm pretty sure someone listening, oh my God, me too. And then settling in Florida, and then you know her twin sister, but not really ever meeting her. Like, I feel like everybody is always connected in some very weird, universal way.
Right.
And so starting my podcast off this way, it kind of warms people up to listening for more than 10 minutes, right? So I'm going to listen because they're already interesting. So thank you for sharing all of that. So let's get right into Boss Nerd Slut. How did the name come about? I get the gist. I totally understand why you're encompassing every single thing that a woman can be. And not have to choose one linear way to live. So what made you guys say, you know what, we're just going to do this name because this is it? Anybody?
Lori?
I guess we were just trying to find a way that was kind of edgy, because like edginess sells. And so just based off of podcasts that we listen to, we wanted something that was different, but it kind of got the point across. So we literally were just throwing out shit, like just coming up with whatever.
Literally.
And then it was just like, boss nerd slut. And like, it was kind of provocative, and it was the one thing that made us all kind of like, be like,
Right.
that might work. So
I love the name. Love the name. I'm like, bro. And it almost sounds like it could be a show. It sounds like a TV series. It sounds like, come on, sis. It could be a show. It could be a podcast. It could be a clothing line. It could be a shoe line. Like, it sounds like such a universal name for a podcast. I'm like, bro, like, y'all can really take this and like take it. And I know then we'll get to that.
We're glad you feel that way, because some people don't.
Right. But when we get to that, I can't wait to hear, what you guys are thinking about, future term. So, Boss Nerd Slut is like, one of you more of the nerd and one of you the slut or the boss. Did that kind of encompass?
So we get that question all the time. I literally got that question this morning as well. And no, one of us is not the boss, one of us is not the nerd, and the other is not the slut. We're pretty much saying that, like, you can be whoever it is, whether it's a boss, a nerd, or slut, or anything else. Just be yourself and do it on your own terms. So we're saying we could be all of those things. We could be none of those things. Like, we're just saying whoever you are, be that person and own it. And if you have multiple characteristics, own them. Like, you don't have to also be boxed into be one particular thing. That's why we're like, okay, well, let the name being Boss Nerd Slut. It's like, okay, that's a little bit of everything.
Right.
But we each kind of have our moment. So it's like, one day Danny might be the slutty one, like, girl, relax, just chill. The next day, like, Shari might be super nerdy with like her books and talking about Harry Potter and shit. So it just kind of depends on like what's happening, what's going on. Then we kind of tap into one of those specific things.
Right.
But we did have a conversation that was like, gun to your head, which one are you? And I think that the titles over our heads pretty much fall in line with that. Like, we had to choose one per person.
Okay, I get it.
Danny is probably the bossier of the three.
Bossier and boss are two different things.
Like, boss.
Ambitious, very goal driven, very like get it done.
I don't like that
one.
Lorielle being like the scientist, she would probably fall more into the nerd category, right? And then me being as open as I am,
the sensual author by trade.
So
a profession in sensuality at this rate.
Right.
But
So
we're all three.
I honestly felt that it didn't technically like cater to each and every one of you, because when I read the bio that you sent, I was like, that it makes sense. Like I can do whatever I want that day.
Right.
And whoever's listening is going to be able to relate to my ambition and the business that I start and the art and the book that I wrote. You know what I'm saying? So like, I appreciate listening. When I listen with Leah. And sometimes by myself, and I find myself just bust. I'm like, because I know Shari and Lori, right? So it's like when they're having a conversation, your interaction, like it does seem to just perfectly mesh with the three that you chose. So I'm gonna ask a racy question.
Racy.
And because you guys live in Atlanta, but why the three of you? Like you guys have a whole tribe, and it's like, so why the three of you?
That's funny you say that, because we were having conversations about having some kind of show with all of Tribe at some point, just because whenever you have a group of people, like life happens, drama happens, and it's just like, we can't make this shit up. Like, but
we even started the IG page.
Yeah, we had some ideas, but just scheduling and all that stuff never really kind of worked out. And then I moved to Atlanta, Shari moved to Atlanta, Danny moved to Atlanta, and all of us, the three of us at least, we like to talk. We're passionate about doing stuff. And we wanted to kind of start something. And so just that energy alone, we kept talking about it.
Like, we should have our own show. We should do something. Like,
And if anybody out of Tribe was actually going to do it, it was going to be the three of us. Like, we're the three people that probably do the most out of the ideas that are brought up to the table. Like, or the more we go out more. We're more outgoing out of the whole group. Like, we're the ones that are going to show up to more things. We're the ones who are probably going to plan.
Yeah, I think it just works because we were all here in Atlanta. I think if more of Tribe was in Atlanta, this would probably be a bigger panel that you're seeing sit in front of you. But it's only out of our big group of girlfriends, it's only us three that actually live in Atlanta. So that's kind of how it happened. And we just keep on saying, we should do a show, we should whatever. So since we're physically all in the same place, it just made sense that we just started something, because it'd be easier than trying to do something with our girlfriends who live in a whole other state, you know? So it kind of just...
But we are going to force them. We're going to force them on the show.
Right.
This Zoom thing is definitely going to be integrated somehow.
Because, like, when I think about it, so I thought about my group of friends, and then me and Leah are the only ones that started the podcast, right? And so Leah was like, me and Micah get drunk all the time, and we talk about every single last thing, from racism to sexism to clothes to pop culture. Like, we just all over the place. But it's like, dang, we need to film this. Like, bruh, like, people need to hear what we're saying. And so I definitely hear the conversation and the different perspectives you all bring. Like, I think it's just the perfect mix of what a podcast should look like. Because, you know, a lot of them, some women and some men, some groups, they end up agreeing. And I don't see that a lot with the three of you. No one really agrees. And it's maybe 2 and 1, or all three of you maybe, but some feel like on the outskirts. So it does bring a bit of like controversy to the group, but also to the listeners, because you're not all going to agree on every single last thing you talk about.
That's our real life. Like, honestly, like, our opinions on our podcast and the things that we talk about, it's real. And in real life, we don't always agree. We usually don't agree most of the time.
Rarely.
But we don't, it doesn't bother us that we don't agree. So like us just having that conversation is very natural. That is literally how we talk in real life.
Anything else to add? No,
I think it's kind of crazy how, you know, we're also type A personalities sometimes, or like alpha females. And the fact that we can disagree the way we do, but still keep the friendship that we have.
I honestly feel like people, when they're having conversation, I think podcasts are so amazing because it's bringing perspective. You're making people, forcing people, if they listen, to literally think outside of their norm. And it's easier to do that when there's 3 different individuals giving their own. Someone is going to connect to someone. You know what I'm saying? Someone's going to be able to, you know what? I can see that, because I used to feel like Shari, but now I feel like Lori. Like, they can still balance that off of everything that you guys are saying. So do you ever find that, let's say the cameras are off, right? And you guys are having a conversation, wine may be included or not, and you guys are having like a very hot topic, right? And so when you say, you know what, we should film this. So then a week goes by, you guys film. But someone who had the opinion, it changes when the camera comes on. Have you ever had that, oh my gosh, you didn't say that when we was off camera, but now it's like, have you ever had that moment?
I don't think it's happened yet, just because like our conversations that happen outside of the podcast are pretty organic. Like when we come together to plan the podcast, we're pretty strategic and we do pre-production. So we have these concepts, we have these ideas, we might have light conversation, but if we decide to discuss a topic on the show specifically, we don't really go into deep conversation about it off camera, just so that we don't run into those issues of already having our minds made up and changing our stuff later. So.
So it can be fresh.
Yeah, but there are times where we may say something on the podcast and something in real life may change our perspective on something that we talked about on the podcast. Yeah. And I think that's natural. The more you learn about a certain topic and, you know, the more you get the other side of the story and things of that nature, that you're not so dead set on maybe what your beliefs were before, that you allow yourself to grow. So that may happen. But like Lori said, we try not to talk about it too much so that we're like, oh yeah, that's how you feel?
Save that. Put a pin in it.
Pin in that. We'll talk about this later because I'm not doing this with you in front of company. That's usually what I feel like, because you guys are friends and this is a work environment. It's a work fun environment, but you guys have a common goal. It's to get the news to the people, and whatever topic you're talking about, whatever you're discussing, that is the reason why you're doing it. So I feel listening to your podcast that you guys never lose sight of the bigger picture. Even if when you don't agree on something, y'all have to move on, or like, you know what, we'll come back to that because y'all doing the most. Like I really like the transparency and the realness that I'm getting from the podcast. So I just want to say kudos to that.
Thank you.
Very genuine, and everything that you guys are saying is super organic, and that's really hard to do because sometimes when the cameras come on, people switch because they don't want to be judged. Right? Like the moment I say this is out. Like it's never going away. It's been said. Someone recorded it. Somebody screenshotted it. Somebody did something. And so that leads me to my next question. Have you guys ever run into anything where it's like you've talked about sex, whatever, and y'all went ham on the topic, and it was like, yeah, I like it when he like, you know, like you just really went in. Have you ever felt after listening to yourself like, damn, I wish I didn't say that because now I'm going to seem like this person, because I know it's Boss Nerd Slut, but we do have our moments of insecurity and doubts and fear and things like that. So you can individually answer this one. So anyone can chime in.
I'll go first. Our Valentine's Day episode was pretty like heavy on the fuck these niggas. And so as a result of that, like I kind of ran into a situation where somebody I was dating saw that, heard it, and kind of like had a whole new perspective, and it just led to some other stuff. So for me, just like being cognizant of how I'm bringing up scenarios that are real time happening in my life, I kind of learned that I got to kind of figure that out, because you put it out there, they're going to hear it, and trust and believe, they're going to bring it up at some point. If not now, later, they're going to bring it up.
Definitely.
I would say that the thing is when the camera's on me, for some reason, I get super awkward. Like, so I feel like I listen back to it and I hear myself talk and just like, I don't really think that I turn into a different person or anything like that. But I just feel like I can say things a lot better, you know, just without the camera in front of me. When we're just talking on the couch or whatever, I feel like conversation is a lot more fluid than how I sound on the podcast. But I mean, other than that, I think that we pretty much are genuinely just ourselves. So, I mean, take it or leave it.
So I don't think there's one instance in particular, but in the back of my mind, a lot of the things that we talk about, usually when we're in our slut bucket segment or we're talking about sex, is like, you know, I hope this doesn't one day come back to bite me in the ass. But honestly, like a part of me is like, fuck it. Like, I don't really care. You know what I'm saying? Like, the opportunities that are for me are going to be for me. Yeah. And I want the opportunities that are for me to be aligned with me being free and me being able to speak my mind. So if there are opportunities that are going to silence me, I really don't want them. So then, although it plays in the back of my mind. I'm like, I really don't give a shit, honestly, because these are my real thoughts. These are my real experiences. Right. So if I get penalized at some point for my real life experiences, that's not for me.
Right. And I definitely think that just in general, this experience is kind of like a platform and an opportunity for us to be free and really kind of talk about things on a platform in front of hundreds of people that maybe we may not would have had that opportunity to do so. But it's like good exercise, because it's like, as a woman with all of these feelings, with all these viewpoints, we should be able to say whatever, how we feel.
Especially if it's true.
Right. Especially if it's true, without repercussion. So.
Right. I agree. And the one thing that you said, whatever's for me is going to be for me. I think we all women struggle with completely being our authentic self, because it may stop someone from working with us. It may stop the company from endorsing us. But then that's not the company. And I feel like there's so many people in the world, right? There's so many different companies. There's so many different investors that are looking for certain things out of a person, out of a branding situation. So I think what you guys said should be uplifting to every woman listening, every man listening. If you have a woman in your life, just continue to make her be herself and be authentic, as raw as that may be. I have a potty mouth, but I will say,
it's bad.
I know, I get it, but I will say, when I'm doing the podcast, I feel myself trying not to cuss as much. Like, literally, I'm like, fuck it. Like, I make my because it's like, like, you know, because you're thinking about what the backlash will be for it. But Boss Nerd Slut is yours.
Right.
You don't have a producer telling you to, you know, like, you are the producers. You guys run the show. So
literally.
Right. That's so hard to say the word. Hold on. Authenticity of the show, it just rings loud and clear. But I just wondered, do you guys have those moments? And thank you for sharing, Lori, because I done said some things about an ex, and my boyfriend's like, really? I'm like,
And they always listen when you think they're not listening. Like, bro, I ain't heard from you in 5 years. Like, how did you know that story was about you?
Yeah, so, you know, I get it. So being this vulnerable, it does open up, I think, a can of worms, but it also gives you that freedom to just totally walk in the light that you say you want to walk in. If you say you want to be this person, this boss, this nerd, this slut, then you be that.
Right.
I'm going to go back to Lizzo briefly. This has nothing to do with anything, but I just need your opinions. So, do you feel like Lizzo is truly walking in her, I'm free, I'm this, I'm big, I'm beautiful, I'm proud, I'll turn around and shake this ass in the camera, and not feel that she's also insecure? I feel like she battles it, because a lot of people keep telling me how confident Lizzo is and she has no shame, but then I'll watch an Instagram live and she'll be crying. And then I'll watch something else and she'll be justifying why she wore what she wore. And so I thought about Boss Nerd Slut, and I thought about Lizzo, and I thought about owning your whole shit, because Meg Thee Stallion would turn around and drop that ass with no problem. And she said in her song, it's 2020, I'm not arguing about twerking. I'm just not. That's just not something I'm going to do. So give me your viewpoints of what you think Lizzo could possibly be going through, or is she lying to herself about being this confident woman?
I think it's not easy to be, you know, a bigger girl in the industry that she's in. Like, it has to be super hard to, you know, walk around. You know, there are a lot of stigmas created, you know, against bigger women, like, you know, she's not healthy, things like that, which I also have said those things myself. And it's so common that she hears it all the time. So it's like, although she might be really wholeheartedly trying to embrace it, the times where she goes on Instagram Live and she's crying and things like that, like, it's bound to get to her. So I think that, you know, she might be just trying to fake it till she makes it, in my opinion.
Okay.
I think she's already established, like, her brand, and her brand is for her to be the one to wear no panties to a damn Lakers game. So regardless of how she feels, and, like, a lot of times we see all the time that women be on Instagram half naked, but they want to slit their wrists. They hate themselves. Like, so it's just like, I think it's a constant battle that she's probably experiencing. And of course she's probably trying to, like, put on a good face and be that voice and that face for the girls who look like her, because there's not very many representations of that. Right. But at the same time, as a woman in an industry with ridicule all the time, I'm sure it's not easy for her, and that she has those insecurities that still lie underneath.
Right.
Right. I personally think that she is living in her truth, but living in your truth doesn't mean it's going to be easy to live in your truth. There are people who still criticize some of the like most in shape women that are out in the industry, and they're going to find something to try to tear you down anyway. They try to tear Beyonce down. They try, like, you know what I'm saying? Like they'll find a way to try to tear you down. So I think as a human being, you're going to have insecurities whether you are confident or not. So I think she is living in her truth, but being in the limelight and constantly seeing people say something, that's going to do something to the most confident people. Right. Even if you say you don't care, when you lay your head down at night and you replay that comment you saw under your picture, you're going to care a little bit, no matter how tough and secure you think you are. But I think she's living her truth, but she's a human being. At the end of the day,
it's millions at this point,
right? Because you can you just imagine like having confidence, but every night before you go to sleep, you know, you're seeing thousands of comments about how you're not as fine as you think you are. Like,
why did she wear them shoes? Like, girl, really, you looking at my shoes though?
Right.
Because I want to wear them. I like these shoes.
Her fashion choices are very questionable, though. Confidence or not.
Yeah, everybody's fashion choices are questionable.
But according to who, though? You know what I'm saying?
According to me. That's my opinion.
Okay, she probably looked at your fashion choices and have her own opinion.
Probably.
I love it. Everything that just happened. This is your show. This is your show right now. This is your show. So you guys are hearing it right now. If you have never listened to Boss Nerd Slut Podcast, this is a snippet of what you're going to do. And I'm telling you, you are going to be entertained and educated. Okay, so that was just a little tidbit throw out for y'all. So thank you for that, because I struggle with people choosing a side, right? Like, I would like people to say, you know what? I'm insecure because that's who I mainly am. I'm fighting to be this woman that is fearless and that blah, blah, blah. But that was kind of like my argument. Like, I just want people to choose a side. And I know it's difficult to do that, especially when you're in the limelight. So all of my heavy scrutiny was basically coming from a normal, average, you and me type person. Yeah. But, you know, I guess I can't be that hard on people who actually know millions and millions of people and follow them and know, you know, so it does change the dynamic. Thank you for bringing that for me, because I was struggling. I'm not gonna lie. I was struggling, you know, and it's just like in one breath you're doing this and showing that ass and walking up and down the court and dropping it, and then you're crying.
But the whole crying thing in general is very like weird for everybody. It's like, I don't know how to feel right now. Why are you crying for me to see? Like,
and you're like this,
right? Like,
I'm like, yo, I feel so weird doing that. Like, the things people do on the internet is just
weird.
For attention,
so
though.
Weird.
The things people do for attention.
Like, I could never hold my phone and cry. I cry like this. Like,
I can't even. The phone would be like. And on top of that, like, you know, the hospitals and then filming funerals, I'm like, y'all ODing.
Yeah, it's too
y'all
much.
Y'all are really ODing.
I don't understand.
Jesus. All right, so more about Boss Nerd Slut. So, do you guys have a goal for Boss Nerd Slut? Is this something that's just like, we want to get our voice out in the world? What is it? What are y'all trying to get picked up?
All of it. All of the above. We're trying to get picked up. We're trying to cash a check. Okay. We're trying to do all of that. I think the ultimate goal, like with being authentic and having fun, it's great and all, but of course, like, who wouldn't want to capitalize off of this?
In 2020, like,
right.
I agree.
Like, ultimate dream, if we were to just be able to talk to ourselves, not to ourselves, talk to each other.
Yeah.
Right.
And make a check off of that, and like that be our job. Like, ultimate dream, I think that's the end goal right there.
Yeah. And then to have like businesses that stem off of this.
Yeah.
You know?
Different brands.
Right.
With Boss Nerd Slut being the ultimate,
you know,
business, but other things
the umbrella.
Okay, so this is an individual question. If it speaks to you, then you can speak on it. If not, then that's cool. So earlier, Danielle, you said that you did journalism. And so you talk about, everything social, pop, political, culture, and things like that. But do you feel like this has basically, I don't know, like give you different gateways to different avenues in your personal life? Has like this Boss Nerd Slut elevated you in a very personal way?
So I'm not sure yet because I feel like it's so new to know if it's like affected like my journalism side of things,
Right.
because like our Boss Nerd Slut page is its own separate entity. Boss Nerd Slut, I think I post things related to Boss Nerd Slut, and on my personal page, like although I'll promote Boss Nerd Slut, I still stay true to what I was doing before. So I think it's a little bit too soon for me to tell like how it's changed. It may have changed people's perception of me.
Right.
Especially like being in journalism, I've had this whole journey in journalism where I feel like it started off very conservative because I worked for like local news stations and things of that nature that you weren't allowed to have an opinion. You're supposed to be very objective to then getting into like sports journalism, entertainment journalism, where you're now able to have a little bit of opinion. And now a podcast where I'm like, I'm saying whatever the fuck I want to say. Right. So I'm sure people who maybe started following me years ago when I was doing this more conservative journalism is probably like, who is this? Right. Like, this is me. I just wasn't able to tell you.
Right.
Oh, I'm here.
With me this whole time.
Yeah, so it's probably changed people's perception of my brand, but not sure how it's impacted the, like my bag yet with journalism or or that. I think, it's a little too early to tell, but I think within this next year, I'll pretty much see. But I think it's been beneficial to me that I have went more so into the entertainment journalism field, because now like these two things are more able to kind of mingle with each other. Whereas if I was doing like local news or something that was more serious and conservative, it wasn't going to happen. This was going to clash and one was going to burn. Like, you know what I'm saying? One was going to suffer. And it'll probably been my journalism career because they don't want you to have opinions.
Right.
If you tweet something that they don't like, they texting you, they emailing you, telling you to take it down. Like, it's real serious. So now there's nobody telling me not to.
So now that you've gone more over to the explicit versus conservative, do you feel that type of journalism is something that you never want to delve back into because you got a taste of what it's like to truly be able to express your opinions the way that you want to? Do you feel like that's affected the way that you feel about?
Oh, absolutely. Like doing entertainment journalism, which I still do, and social media, like journalism, being a social media correspondent. Right. I love that because that is more free, but the more conservative journalism, like working for like a local television news station or something that's more serious, I would never. Like for me, I'm like, I've experienced too much in my life. I've traveled to so many places. I've met so many different people. Like I'm a different person now and I have a shit ton of opinions and I'm going to share them now and I'm not going to be silenced by anybody, not a news station, not anyone. So it's not happening.
I feel you. See, the growth of what happens when you start something that you're passionate about just because it's fun, I think your life starts to literally shift. Like even listening to yourself back from something that someone asks, it's like, oh, I used to be like, I'm not like that anymore. Like I have a totally different outlook about the way that I feel about different topics. So I think growth in podcasts for the individual is actually happening while others are being perspective. So Lori, with your own business, right? And I know you said, Danielle, that sometimes you cross, the personal to the boss nerd to the other side of your things. And Lori, like you have your own business and Shari, you're an author now. So do you guys find that, because, if you do one thing or multiple things, there's no way you can give everything 100%, right? So, Lori, with your business, do you feel Boss Nerd Slut has basically elevated your customers as far as like them, like, because I know when people connect with people who own businesses and different things, they feel more obligated or they feel more inclined to like buy their products. So have you found any differences from when you started Boss Nerd Slut with your personal business and brand?
I actually have not really begun the integration between Boss Nerd Slut and Pretty Brown Box. Like I've been very isolated with my brand L'Oreal, as well as Boss Nerd Slut. So I've not really integrated that just yet.
Right.
I do think that maybe for future opportunities in terms of like when we're interviewing people, if we're doing something, hosting events or something, opportunities like that where I can bring Pretty Brown Box in as a sponsor. In that perspective, kind of bring publicity and exposure that way. But I've not yet really explored that. So still to be determined. We'll see.
Okay.
My clients will be like, "Oh my God, I love her." Like, what the fuck is wrong with this chick? What? Slut? No, slut. We'll see.
Okay, so Shari, so public relations. I remember you was traveling the world and you was doing your thing, and now you're in Atlanta and you're doing Boss Nerd Slut. So how do you feel that this has elevated your life in any way? And you're an author, and it's like, do you plug that in when you're talking to Boss Nerd Slut? Like, do you like up yourself? You know what I'm saying? Now that you have this platform, you all have like leverage to so many more people, you know, and people that you may not follow, people who told someone about you. So Shari, how do you feel like Boss Nerd Slut is going to contribute to your own personal brand?
So apparently I have an issue with upping myself. Apparently that's something that I don't do enough or should do more of, whatever. But I have been posting, when I post a story on my Instagram page, I have been also posting it to the Boss Nerd Slut story so that our followers can see that, you know, I posted a story and check it out. But, and then, you know, my co-host so generously shouted me out in our Boss Moves, like I think it was last week or something like that. And so, you know, like I think that because my stories kind of relate to what we're selling with our brand with Boss Nerd Slut, it is easier for me to kind of integrate my stories within that. So so I'll continue to, you know, push it on our story page, and then also whenever we have the chance to talk about it on the podcast, we'll do so.
All right, cool. I definitely feel that humility is something that it's like a positive negative. You know what I'm saying? It's like you want me to be humble, but then at the same time, I've done a lot of great things.
Right.
Say that I've done these great things without someone on my ass telling me that I need to chill. I was like, why do I need to chill? I did it. Did I not? That's a fact, right? So, I think overall, with all of you doing your own things, like I definitely feel like integration in general, and just big up yourself, you know, boo boo. Yeah, I know. Doing that more, it's not a brag. It's not a bragging right. It's what you do, and it's like if no one else is gonna tell your story, who other it than be you? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, what I just want to encourage, because I know all of you do great things outside of Boss Nerd Slut, send me your stuff. Like, do you personally send your friends your stories? Like, do you tell your friends, hey, I'm going on live? Shari text me. That's how I know you was DJing, sis. But like, I think stepping outside of like social media and really like picking up the phone and say, hey guys, I just launched this show. Can you repost it? Can you come on over? I'm DJing for brunch, blah, blah, blah. Oh yeah. My company is running a special for personalized gifts this week. Please text your friends. Like, I feel like we kind of stop at social media and we can do a lot better at like using the resources that we already have. And I know people don't like asking for stuff. I hate it, but this is going to grow. You know, this is how Boss Nerd Slut is going to catch the wave onto anything else. Bro, I just posted a new episode. Share it and go about your business. Like, share all the other dumb shit on your channel. You might because I done seen some very ridiculous things. I'm like, sis, you could have posted my shirt because you just posted this. Cool. But then you can't really like, and then you fall into this idea like, okay, I am the owner of what I'm doing. I'm more passionate about it. I cannot fault people who love me, people who care about me, to feel the same way I do about my baby, right? It's yours. But I think giving them the opportunity instead of waiting on them to take it, push it on them. You know, hey, I just wrote a story. Slide that on your whatever. Let me know what you think. Just including people, because sometimes
that's a slippery slope, Micah. Because it's like if you ask your friends to you know
post something,
read into that, or
go ahead, read into that.
Like if you ask your friends to really support something and then they don't, like that also kind of feels like a dagger to the heart too. So it's kind of like I feel like you kind of have to try to not depend on that. Like, you know, we're 3 different people with our own different platforms. Like we can, you know, if our friends promote it, they promote it. If they don't, like me personally, I can't feel bad about that. Like,
but I think at least giving, like you said, people in our immediate network the opportunity.
Yeah, that's all.
You can leave it. Like just throwing it out there, hey, I did this. Just send it to them. Maybe, and then maybe if it's the ask, don't ask, but just send it. And then let them do with it what they can. But it's right there in their phone, right there.
Right. And at
so
least they ready, right? At least they
Right.
And so
I think within our group of friends, like we share pretty much a lot of stuff that we do
and
with
I
our
love
friends.
They are obnoxious.
And
Yeah.
they, like I probably do it like the most, and I'm sure that there's somebody who's like, God damn, Danielle, again today. Yeah, can you go?
Listen,
Can you go do this? Can you watch this?
If one person has something, like Sophie had her video or her
Right.
whatever the other day, literally, if you follow any of us, all you're about to see for the next 5 stories is Sophie's thing, back to back to back to back, because that's just how we ride. Like.
And our group of friends, like I feel like everyone, when they want something, they'll share it in the group chat, and then and it comes to a point where honestly, like, so for example, if Shari posts her story on her Shari page, I'm automatically gonna repost it now because I already know she wants that. So like at this point, you don't even have to ask me. You know what I'm saying? Like, so there's certain things where if we're putting out content, it's Pretty Brown Box something, and Lori has a special sale, like we're all gonna promote it. You know what I'm saying? Like if we know which friends are gonna promote something if we ask them to do it.
Boom.
Like,
you know your friends. You know your friends, right? And so I brought that up because when something happens, your friend tribe group reminds me of mine. We don't have a name yet. I'm going to think of it. We don't have a name. But they're always doing, every single last person in the group is always doing something. And so it's just so much easier to just repost it and then just share it. But when we want to really like cross-contaminate, we were like, okay, at 5 o'clock, post my workout. And everybody sees it at 5 o'clock. You know what I'm saying? So like, it got me thinking, okay, like if we ask for specific things, and whoever does it, and we say, please, no pressure if you don't, but just allowing them, Shari, the opportunity to do that. One of my friends did take it personally when the other person didn't do it. And come to find out, sis was in the hospital. So like, it may not be. Right? And then no shade. She just didn't get around to doing it, but you got 3 or 4 other people who did do it. So don't focus on the people who are not sharing and as happy as you are. Just focus on the people who are. And that's the only way I feel like we're going to be able to get through anything. Stop worrying about the wrong things. Worry about who's in front of you. Worry about the people who support you. Worry about the friends who's always there and not the friends who aren't. Because initially, they probably won't be in the future. No shade. I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't want to put that over the friend thing. But in general,
I feel like it's usually not a surprise when the people who don't. You know, it's like, I didn't really think you were anyway.
That's going to happen. Exactly. So this brings me to the growth and the weakness part of my question. So this is very individual. Just personally, nothing to do with Boss Nerd Slut, not your brand, just you as a person. What do you feel is your greatest weakness? And I know greatest weakness is kind of like an oxymoron, but what do you think is stopping you from reaching your full potential or just personally growing into a better person anybody can start? You can think about it, I know.
That was heavy, Micah.
Right.
I gotta go there.
Drop the bomb.
Well, I mean, I think mine kind of surfaces like when we were just talking about like our passions and what people put out. So I think that my passion kind of holds me back sometimes because I get so passionate about things. I get so invested and emotional, and I think that often holds me back because like I have this idea or I have this thought or I have and I want everybody to run with it the same way that I run with it, and I want everybody to just feel me. Like I want you to feel me, and I feel like when they don't, that I'm just like, oh, maybe this isn't good.
Oh,
maybe
yeah.
this is, and so I think that often holds me back.
I feel that.
I would say that trying to do too many you were touching on this in the beginning, like trying to do so many things at once but not really giving any particular thing my 100%. Like I think being a creative, there's so many things I like to do, like whether it's a podcast, social media, this, that, like you know, like there's so many different things I want to do. And when I feel like doing them, I do them, right? But then you're taking away from the other thing that you said you were going to get done yesterday, right? So, you know, like, so I think that is something that's like a weakness of mine is I try to do too many things so that it doesn't allow one thing to get completed 100% quicker than it could have been if I would have like tuned out everything else that I like to do.
Lori, it does not even have a weakness in general.
I mean, I guess, like, you know, I keep biting my nails or whatever, so that's no. I don't know. Like, I feel like for me, just my voice in general is something that I've struggled with for a while. Like, being an only child, being, like, kind of a quiet child growing up, and then now all of a sudden speaking all the time, speaking to a camera, speaking on a platform, like, that for me is something that I'm learning to deal with and cope with. Like, listening back to podcasts, I'm like, oh, girl, why? Girl, what? Like, but it's like, it's also kind of freeing in what we were talking about earlier in terms of just being able to feel vulnerable and feeling comfortable in expressing yourself. However that looks, because there's no blueprint. There's no cookie cutter way of how you're supposed to sound, how you're supposed to look, or what you're supposed to say. And so this for me has just kind of been like an outlet for that. So my weakness has been definitely speaking the fuck up.
Right. So then you helped me, because the next thing I was going to say, what are the solutions? Because I'm very solution oriented. What are the solutions that you are doing to make sure that you are able to get through that weakness, or at least get better at whatever you're doing? And Laura, you gave it. Speak the fuck up. That's what you said. Shari, what are you going to do? What have you been doing? Because you know that it's your problem. So what have you been doing to kind of like feel better about how other people receive your things? And it is validation. So how to get past that? Have you been working?
Well, you know, my first go around with trying to publish something didn't go the way I thought. So it kind of brought me to a place where I didn't really want to put anything out anymore. So being able to put out what I have been with like my sensual stories, that was a really big hurdle for me to jump. Like, I think more than I even realized. So I think just putting it out there was my first step, and I'll just keep doing that until I feel more comfortable.
That's it.
Big first step, right? Shout out to you. I think that I've always known that to be a problem of mine, and I think, you know, really having this time during quarantine has been like, okay, you got 10 things, sis. Bring it down to at least 4, please. Okay. You can't do all 10, sis. Okay?
Right.
You're just so fucking awesome.
No, it's not even like awesome. I just like so many things. Literally. Like, when I will wake up and be like, oh, today I'm going to do this. And you guys are probably like, what? And I'll literally take that and run with this. So really during this quarantine, I'm like, all right, like dead ass, like narrow down this list. And that's what I've been trying to do, is narrow down the list, because there's only one me. I only have 24 hours in a day.
Right.
So, yeah.
Narrowing it down. So I went to this conference in Nashville, and it was called, and it was digital marketing, e-commerce, whatever. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of this guy called Russell Brunson. He started something called Clickfunnels. It's a software that it's basically a website, but you're funneling, get it? Clickfunnels. You're funneling your customers to next steps so that you can upsell or downsell them.
Oh,
so no matter what, when someone leaves, they're going to at least buy something. So I have a couple of funnels, and I can make them, by the way. But anyways, so when conference, billionaires, millionaires they're talking about all of their hardships. Like, these people did not start with silver spoons, like, talking about how they were awakened at 35, and all of a sudden they're getting this abundance of money, and it's like, oh, what do I do with all this great success? So they really harped on their weaknesses. And the one thing they said, once you recognize your weakness and you're working on the solution to get there, everything else becomes easy. You know what I'm saying? And so thinking about the worst case scenario in every situation, if you get comfortable with what that's like and what that feels like, you know what, Danielle, you know what it feels dropping the ball, because you have so many things. Something's going to go through the cracks. Shari, you know what it feels like not to be supported the way that you want, or not the validation. Laura, you know what it feels like to be alone, but now I have a voice, and now I have to get used to that voice and be okay with hearing that. You know what it feels like to not have those things, to fail. You know what that feels like. So now that you know what that feels like, there's no need to be afraid. There's no need to continue to do the same things you're doing before because you already know what it's going to be like if you don't. And
right.
so, I took that away and I was like, bro, like if people thought about the worst case scenario in every situation, it will make you be a better person because you know what it feels like. It's not new to you. And so I just thought I'd ask that because I know a lot of people can resonate with different people's challenges. And I think the way that people go about doing the challenge and accepting it and solutions, everybody's solution is different, but your solutions today could have helped somebody figure out the same problem. They just didn't know how to tackle it, you know?
Right.
So talk about weaknesses, solutions, strengths. And apparently Danielle has them all. So
I do not. I literally do not.
Okay, I get it.
No, I do not.
I get it.
Y'all are great at everything you do.
Well, look,
Y'all are great
Danielle,
at everything you do. Do not do me.
so Danielle, let me tell you. My friends tell me the same thing that they tell you. And I'm just like, cut it out. Too much. If you're good at a lot of things, it's overwhelming because you don't want to just do one thing. You want to do everything else that you're good at. And so your solution to that problem is narrowing things down. I have a 10 list. Week 4, I would have at least 3. I think it's just planning and execution, to be real.
Right.
Setting certain times for certain tasks and mastering it. That's what I really wanted to say before I move on. I talk a lot. 100% mastery is what a billionaire said to us at this conference. He said, people are good at things. You may be talented at 2 things, 4 things, whatever. Seldom do people master things. If you master something, no matter what else you do, that will be in your mastery pack. That will generate income. That will get people to come to you.
Preach.
It's mastery. So I'm like, I need to master shit. So like, it's like focusing on mastery instead of just getting things done. Like I want to master whatever that is. So you can start telling me and us what your strengths are. Your greatest strength. My bad. Just one.
My greatest strength? In terms of like work?
Anything. This is personal. This is about you.
I think my greatest strengths in life in general is that I'm really optimistic about things. Like even if I think there's a chance I'm going to fail, I'm going to do it anyway. Right. Even if I think there's a chance somebody's going to judge me, I'm probably going to do it anyway. Right. So I think that has helped me tremendously in my career because there's been a lot of times I failed at a lot of stuff, but I still did it anyway. And then I was like, that's not going to happen to me again. Right. You know what I'm saying? So I think my optimism in life has just really helped me tremendously with just doing all of these things I'm telling you about that I want to do. Yeah. Literally, like I could have never done it yesterday. And then I'm like, oh, well, you know, what's the worst? Like you said, I literally think like, what's the worst that can happen? Right. Okay, you're not going to like it. Okay, that's fine. You probably didn't even like me anyway. So, you know, like literally that's kind of, I feel like my greatest strength.
Oh, when is your birthday?
In June. I'm a Gemini, June 13th.
Okay. I thought you were a Pisces. I'm like, you sound like me.
Okay,
Gemini. That might be her rising sign.
It may be her. You know what? It may be your rising sign. Cool. All right. So anybody else? Greatest strength?
Well, mine was kind of like that.
Sorry.
But I was going to say, like, for me, like, just, I guess hope would be the term that I use in terms of being hopeful and just kind of understand. Hopeful Sam.
Hopeful underscore.
But just in general, like, having traumatizing life experiences and understanding that even when you are at the pit of pits, the bottom of the bottom, there's still light somewhere, and that things that feel overwhelming or things that feel like a lot are only temporary at the time. So kind of like that optimistic, just always forward thinking, like shit sucks right now, but in like 8 weeks it's gonna be better.
Right.
For me, I would say I'm the motherfucking plug.
What you need?
Period.
What you need?
Like, I'm really good at making connections and keeping them, and just, and I'm a little bit fearless in that way. Like I'm going to approach you. I'm going to see what I can do for you and what you can do for me, and we gonna make it happen.
Thank you for saying it, because you are the plug. Always. Shari always knows someone that can do something for you or that you can connect with. I'm like, how? You know, how did you? And I love how fearless you are with people. Yeah. Honestly, like, you walk up to anybody and say whatever, you know, and I walk up to people and say hello. That's about it. But for the most part, you're just so assertive with whatever you're doing, and I love that. Love that. So it's funny when you hear people who are like you say, I struggle with my ideas being validated, or I struggle with people supporting. It's like, how? You know, so like, I honestly do feel like when people express their strengths and weaknesses, you will be surprised what someone's weakness is. And so that means we're all on the same level. Some way, no matter if you think someone has really got it together, you ask them that question. If they're truthful with you, you'll see that they don't. And then that's okay, because they're still great. And you guys are great. So thank you so much for sharing that. I know getting vulnerable with people, they be like, stop. I'll be like, no. Let's get vulnerable, please. Let us grow. So that's basically everything that I wanted to talk to you guys about. If anything you guys want to share more about Boss Nerd Slut.
Micah, like, have you ever considered a career in journalism?
Hello, like, girl, you're killing it. Seamless, like, bro.
Stop. No. I did not think we were gonna get this deep today.
You do this.
So thank you guys so much.
Well, we already got our makeup on. Let's just do it after this.
Done talking.
The battery's about to die.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Oh, is that 1%? Oh yeah.
Oh, let me go.
Bye.
Bye, Micah.